Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again, and now it's time for episode 178 of Album of the Day, in which this is my fourth time on this channel where I am reviewing a rap record. And in this case, it's the latest album from a Brooklyn-based rapper who kind of started out somewhere in the early 2010s and has for a long time been part of the rap collective Pro Era, and started to gain some hype and success off of his 2012 mixtape 1999. And since then has definitely built a pretty successful career. He had and he's landed numerous features on many other rap records around, like on people's albums like Mick Jenkins and people like that. That before eventually releasing his major label debut in 2015 called Before the Money, where he had signed with Jay-Z's Roc Nation label, and I'm talking about the Brooklyn MC known as Joey Badass, So I'm here to review the second major label album from Joey Badass that was released this year on April the 7th, 2017. The album is called All-Amerikkkan Badass, and as you can see, this is the CD of it, which pretty cool. It has this slipcover that looks like an American flag a little bit. It's like some sort of cape that Joey Badass now wears, pretty much. So yeah, that's like just the slipcover. So this is on and this is released on Cinematic Music Group. That's the label that this album is on. Anyway, there's the actual album cover right there with Joey Badass. And his real name actually is Joe Von Virginie is actually his real name. Anyway, there's the back of the album. There's 12 songs on here. It's over 49 minutes. The first half of the record is, a little more stingy with the features, while the second half definitely has a lot more featured artists on there that still really do add a lot to this album. And there's the disc right there. And this is like a booklet which has all the lyrics in it, pictures of Joey Badass. And by the way, I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. I sure did. So yeah, that's the CD packaging for Joey Badass's All-Amerikkkan Badass. Yes. Now, I did start listening to Joey Badass sometime around mid-2016, which was the time I really started getting into rap music, and of course, in that year I reviewed Def Grips and Aesop Rock, which are like some good underground rap artists. Brown rap artists. And of course, I was, getting into some more kind of well-known stuff, like, of course, Joey and Kendrick Lamar and people like that. And I definitely started to become really interested in his delivery and his very original lyrical approach and his amazing flow and whatnot. He definitely seemed like a very talented rapper, like for his age. Yeah, he's relatively young kind of rapper, but very talented. Definitely has plenty of skills when it comes to his flow and his lyrical approach. This album, I would say, is definitely a much more overtly political approach. This is definitely a record that's sort of kind of taken on society a little bit, and and these kind of records, I think, which I think is good considering I think these kind of political records have kind of become that much more important in this age of all the horrors that have happened, whether it be the outcome of the 2016 election or something like that. So it's definitely refreshing to see a young rapper like Joey Badass sort of addressing all those issues and kind of problems that we've had. And this is an album addressing topics such as police brutality and stuff like that, which is definitely something that of course black rappers really want to stand up for, pretty much, is by kind of protesting against police brutality by creating all these really killer rap songs about it. So the intro for the album, Good Morning America, which of course gets its name from the ABC morning show, Good Morning America, but rather, instead of looking at it at a kind of a lighthearted way like that show would, it's sort of, the Good Morning America is more just kind of taking a look at how it seems every morning, something pretty horrific is happening to a black person or something like that. And sort of asking the listener, what's freedom to you? And sort of saying, let's talk about it and think it through, and I'm all about it, and about it. And while we do feel like we have freedom, at the same time, there's still some cops shooting down some of these people just because of their skin color, which is totally unfair. And it actually features an excerpt from Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech at the end. It's basically just a little intro for the album, not quite a song, more just kind of opening the album and transitioning into the first true song on the record, which is For My People. My People. So Good Morning America is probably my least favorite on the record, because it doesn't really it just feels like just one kind of good idea and not really a song necessarily, even though it definitely does a good job of sort of opening up the album and sort of opening up to what the album will be addressing lyrically. And on the song For My People, I do really like the kind of upbeat horns and synths on the track. I definitely think sounded really nice, as well as the kind of soulful female backup vocals definitely sounded really nice on there too. Really showing that the production on this album is definitely very well done. Well done. And Joey really does show off his lyrical chops in terms of his poeticism. All heroes don't wear capes, and all villains can't get away, and how he isn't trying to be good, but, trying to be great. And I like how he also kind of, I like his message, in the second verse, where he says, music is a form of expression. Music is a form of expression. I'm gonna use mine just to teach a lesson. Rule 1, this microphone and weapon. I'm shooting out the actions. manifested in my passion. So he's like revealing how he's really expressing himself to sing himself to like his fans as well as to the listener and whatnot, and definitely kind of. So this is sort of an inspirational record, even if it is pretty dark and kind of heavy with the themes of police brutality that it addresses, and despite lyrics in the song like they had a cell block since an adolescent. The song Temptation is kind of a song where he's sort of kind of addressing his anxiety of his people just not really feeling empowered enough and kind of underappreciated by whites. So it kind of makes sense that it opens up with this little black girl like sort of giving a speech where she says how she doesn't like how they're being treated violently and kind of and feeling judged just because of their color. Color. And I really do like how his vocal performance on the song even kind of really does show off his emotions of how he's just feeling kind of how he's just feeling really kind of uneasy about like these situations that are going on, and how the media is just trying to make black people villains pretty much. And there's sort of no way for him to deal with these problems alone, and he needs like his peers to help him. And then of course the song closes with eventually the little girl kind of having a little breakdown. She's like crying and saying that you are treating us wrong and we need to stand up because we need to, and we have rights. Rights, which eventually comes into the song Land of the Free, which is the lead single on the album, and this song was actually released on the day of Donald Trump's inauguration, which definitely makes sense. He's trying to make a statement even on a day of kind of gloom and doom for some of us. And he really does open up the song on kind of the right note lyrically with the line of, "Can't change the world unless we change ourselves." And I do like, and let me tell you, there are definitely some killer bars on here, like on the chorus, 3 K's, 2 A's in America. I'm just a black spade, spawned out the nebula. That's poeticism right there. And sort of opening up with kind of a reminder of how some people don't really truly understand him that much. And talking about how their history is kind of like being hid sort of by the media and by like by the police and some things like that. And he's like reaching out to his children, hoping that they would listen. And sort of talking about how they're sort of feeling kind of like they're locked into this little box, pretty much, that they're trying to get out of, and how they made black people loners and sent them out in the street to be like organ donors and stuff like that. And also do really like the production on this song. On this song, it's got a nice kind of upbeat feel to the instrumental, and I also do really like the kind of high atmospheric like soprano female backup vocals in the background. I thought it sounded really beautiful over the kind of atmospheric, like chopped up keyboard sounds on here, or sounds on here, and the nice kind of slashes of keyboards definitely do sound really nice on there too. And a good bass line on there too. Like, some of the producers on this album do feature some of the people that produced his first major label album: Static Selecta, Kirk Knight, DJ Khalil, and I-900, and people like that, and Chuck Strangers too. Then we have the song "Devastated," which actually was the first single on the record, and it actually was released back in April or May or something like that of 2016. And this song is probably the most like radio-friendly track on the album, but still definitely has a pretty smart message to it of how he used to feel so devastated and thought he'd never make it, but now he's on his way to greatness as he's cultivated this kind of patience and self-confidence in himself, confidence in himself, so it's definitely, as he describes it, organic candy, because, it's, the message is still like good for you, pretty much, and I do really like the upbeat instrumental on this track too. Track 2, and it's sort of like organic candy, even if the lyrics on the second verse are a little more kind of straightforward, kind of forward and addressing topics like weed and stuff like that. And then we have the song "Why You Don't Love Me, Miss Amerikka," which it's really clever how Joey sort of takes a look at America, our country, as like this like girl that's like not treating him right and stuff like that. It's sort of asking, like, why do we have to fight all the time, just because of our skin color. And I really like the kind of vivid bars on this song, like handcuffs so tight nearly slit my veins. This is what tough love feels like. Feel my pain. Pain, and sort of feeling like how it's sort of feeling like there's like no home for him at all. Like no home for him at all. Home for him. And I also do really like the instrumental on this track. The horn samples on the track definitely do sound really nice, as well as kind of the and some pretty cool kind of manipulated backup vocals that are kind of pitched up a little bit to make them sound kind of robotic. And then eventually does close out with the sample of a black man sort of telling telling Miss Amerikka, "No, you no good," to sort of deepen even more kind of the outrage over what's happening. Then side B opens up with the song "Rockabye Baby," which definitely one of my favorite tracks on the record. Definitely, not only does it have one of the most killer beats on the entire record, some beautiful, like, kind of somber acoustic guitar and piano samples that are incorporated into the kind of aggressive sort of revving bass and beat on here, making the song. So this song definitely does sound pretty kind of urgent, both musically and in terms of the lyrics on here too. I like how this song is sort of seeing Joey Badass along with featured MC Schoolboy Q sort of talking about their experiences with all these problems of how they are just feeling hunted by white police and stuff like that, and like this, as well as making this song sort of an attack on yeah, and sort of and Schoolboy Q's verse is definitely, in my opinion, the highlight of the song. Sort of talking about how others have kind of picked up on all this kind of violence, or he calls it like a beef that's going on. As well as kind of making this song an attack on things like our current president and things like that. Then there's the song "Ring the Alarm," which is another one that definitely has a sense of urgency to it that I do really like a lot. I do really like the samples that are incorporated into the instrumental, the kind of distorted guitar, the kind of dramatic piano that sounds like it could have come out of maybe an Eminem song or something like that. That, as well as all the siren noises as well. Seeing Joey along with members of the Flatbush Zombies talking about this war they're gonna start, and how they're all gonna ring the alarm and kind of outsmart those that are trying to take them down. Yeah, and it kind of makes sense that the final line that Joey says on this song is, any scraps left over, we just feed them to the zombies, because essentially the Flatbush Zombies do kind of take the rest of the scraps of the song lyrically, and Michi Darko comes through with a chorus that is, with the second chorus that is pretty over the top and insane. Next is the song Super Predator, which is Super Predator, in case you're wondering, it's kind of a controversial term that was used to describe the president of our current president, Donald Trump, and it's definitely expressed quite nicely on this song, and Static Selecta comes through with some very cool, groovy production on here. Nice bass line, some great saxophone playing on the track too. And of course the catchy little sample of "America's #1, you can bet on your life." Your life. And the song features a really cool and clever guest verse on it from Styles P, and he really does add a nice kind of quirky personality to the song, and sort of expressing himself like, "I'm royalty, my mama said it," and sort of talking about how he's all about doing the smart thing and not listening to what they're saying on Fox News or anything like that. Anything like that. The song "Babylon" is one song on here that has definitely kind of a bit more of a sort of reggae undertone to it that I do really like, with the horns and the organ as well. And also because the Jamaican reggae singer Chronixx is also featured on the song, really giving the song the true kind of reggae rap crossover that I do really like on there. And Chronixx's verse on the song definitely is verse is definitely really nice on there. Then nice. Joey sort of talks about how he's just pretty much fed up with kind of it feeling like Groundhog Day every day for his people, because he keeps hearing on TV that another black man died at the white hand of justice, as he calls it. And he's just kind of going nuts on this track and saying, you know, if you don't got a gun, you better start running. While Chronixx definitely does kind of give it some nice give his aggression some nice little like chemistry for sure. History for sure. Sure, and making references to religious things like talking to God and sort of God sort of telling the protagonist of the song that like heaven's a much better place. Next is the song Legendary, which which also has a nice kind of reggae undertone to the instrumental, with the kind of with the Jamaican percussion, as well as some really nice horns on the track too. But then it also features like these really nice kind of slinking synth arpeggios on the track too. There's on the track too, and some jazzy piano and upright bass are sampled, which this song is produced by Static Selecta, and definitely one example of his production skills right here. Here, talking about pretty much what's going on is like practically legendary, and how he's trying to kill his enemies by any means necessary. And J. Cole delivers a really cool guest verse onto the song. Song started talking about how he's thinking on the positive side, even if the black population is just in times of darkness. This pretty much, but also sort of wondering, am I doing it right or am I hurting myself? Really delivering a nice, intelligent verse on here. And I actually did hear that this song was supposed to be like J. Cole's last guest verse on a song, someone else's song, because this is the only one that apparently feels that important to him. And then the album closes with a song called American Idol, really closing off this album on the best note, with notes sort of addressing how they're just gonna go all in and sort of start this war against like white supremacy and things like that. Which I would say this song is like even more refreshing, like to listen to, especially after the white nationalist protest that recently happened in Charlottesville, like a few months after this record came out. And the instrumental definitely does sound really nice. The kind of sad, gloomy guitars on the song, I thought sounded really beautiful, and I think it also do like the little kind of weird skip edits and pitch shifting going on. Joey Badass's voice giving it kind of more kind of sinister feel, which I do really like on there. Sort of talking about how they're gonna like sort of go all in, but at the same time they do know that they'll be doomed real soon. So yeah, this is definitely a fantastic rap record. It's one I've been listening to quite a bit this year because it is one of my favorite rap albums of the year. So definitely giving this album an 8 out of 10. That's my review for the new Joey Badass album, All-American Badass, and I'll see you for episode 179.